Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to The Theorist, here with your host, JC Botero67, and today will be a combined review of chapters 21 and 22. I didn't get around to reviewing chapter 21. It was kind of a crazy busy week, and then the weekend was equally as crazy, so I do apologize, but I figured since I didn't have much to say about 21, that I would just go ahead and combine it with 22. So that being said, we'll quickly do a review of chapter 21. It was obviously what we've been waiting for, a lemon between Sebastian and Ciel. And so it was interesting because, as I had predicted in the previous review, I had said that, Sebastian's just gonna... Well, I didn't say it, but it was kind of assumed that he was just gonna get on Ciel and get all crazy, and eventually it would lead to the love scene. But anyway, Sebastian is driving Ciel absolutely crazy with kisses and nips, and Ciel's wings threaten to come out. And the reason for that is because Sebastian had been whispering certain words and phrases into Ciel's ear, and so that kind of triggered a automatic instinct in Ciel's body. And so, his angel half is obviously threatening to come out. I mean, the wings are wanting to release themselves, and so Ciel's kind of thinking, I'm not in any danger, why is this happening? And so he realizes that he needs to take control of the situation. And so he actually pushes Sebastian off of him, and he falls to the ground. So this is a passage from chapter 21. Shocked Garnet met surprised Blue, and Ciel's mind raced to come up with an excuse for having managed to push Sebastian, who was much stronger than him, to the ground. So then Ciel's response is, I want to be on top. So it's kind of interesting to see that Ciel wanted to top this time. And so that kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with my having predicted, I think Ciel is going to be the one who gets all crazy, because I know that AnimeCujo had asked a certain question like that. So, continuing on, the lemon's all done, they're just kind of lying in bed, just resting, and so Ciel gets to thinking, and this is a passage from that latter bit of chapter 21. Anger and determination seeped through him at the very thought that something as vile as one of Hell's minions would ever dare lay a hand on Sebastian. If any of them even so much as entertained the idea, Ciel would make absolute sure that they met an excruciating death by the blade of a sword. So obviously an ironic thought on Ciel's part. Of course he doesn't know it, but Sebastian is one of those very minions that he would kill if they went after Sebastian. But there's a good point kind of made in there, because I feel, and I've discussed this before, in saying, Ciel might be the one who kills Claude. I don't recall if I ever said that Ciel might be the one to kill Hannah, but seeing that Claude and Hannah are kind of upset with Sebastian, he's not doing his job just yet of killing Ciel, putting him through torture, whatever, and, they want to take it upon themselves, and they also kind of want to get Sebastian out of the way just because he's sympathizing so much with Ciel. I mean, they have reasons to want to attack Sebastian, and therefore Ciel would probably defend him, or who knows? Because when Ciel finds out the truth about Sebastian, I mean, things are gonna go downhill for a bit. So, who knows? But I mean, because there is that true love there, Ciel might just brush that aside for a moment and actually defend him. We don't know the extent of the situation that the 4 or the 3 will be in, so, I mean, it just all depends. Sebastian might be trying to help angels out or whatever in the final battle, or who knows. I mean, it's such a vague thing right now. I think when we actually approach the situation, get closer to it, then I'll be able to be like, hey, this is what will happen. Right now it's too vague to try and determine these things. I'm getting a little redundant, so let's just move on. And now we come to chapter 22. So the chapter kicks off with Ciel and Lizzie at a coffee shop. In fact, the coffee shop where Ciel and Sebastian had their first date. And so, they're talking about Ciel's supposed retreat, kind of treating some mental issue he had. And so Ciel's kind of like, oh, why did Lizzie's mom have to say that? Why did she have to make up that kind of lie to Lizzie? Because, Lizzie's gonna think he's crazy or something. But anyway, they kind of talk about Dagger and Lizzie, how they're doing, and then Ciel and Sebastian, how they're doing. And then Lizzie eventually asks Ciel, what are your plans for your birthday? I mean, it's 21. It's a big deal. And so Ciel's kind of like, oh, well, probably not going to do much. Like, it's still a tragic day that hurts because that's the day that his parents died. And so Lizzie's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to ask that and make you remember that all of a sudden. And so Ciel's like, oh, it's cool. No big deal. And then Ciel has this thought. So I'm going to read this quote. It's kind of big, I guess. But I won't discuss it until a little bit later on, because there's like an other passage in the chapter that made me think of this quote. So I'll come back to it and discuss it a bit more. But here we are. With nothing laid out before him, he began looking forward to just spending a quiet day, naked and wrapped up in Sebastian's arms. He sighed happily at the thought and hummed in approval as he started to think about all the things the two lovers could do if left uninterrupted for an entire 24 hours. Yet what Ciel imagined and what he would get were two completely different things, and he never once conceived what would transpire on the 21st year of his existence on this earth. So like I said, I'll come back to that and discuss why I chose to read that quote to you guys in this review. But moving along, Ciel meets up with Spears again. Or actually, Spears meets up with Ciel because Ciel's in his mansion doing his usual, reading and researching of his dad's journals. And so Spears comes in and he's like, oh, there's something important I have to tell you. And Ciel thinks it's another death. But it isn't. So Spears kind of pulls out something, hands it to Ciel, and Ciel, I think it's like in an envelope. And Ciel pulls out what's in there. He pulls out silken strands from within and holds them up in the air. The lamplight shimmered and danced on the filaments, the prism of colors shifting from violet to bright white. It's hair, Ciel identified absent-mindedly. What is so important about some hair? So then Spears pulls out a vial of holy water, and they stick the hair in there, and here is another passage. Ciel's jaw dropped in disbelief at the chemical reaction that was taking place in front of his very eyes. The once lustrous hair turned dark as frothy black bubbles filled the bottle and spilled over the top and down the sides. He wrinkled his nose at the stench of sulfur that filled the air, and the student stared with fascination as the turbulent mixture finally settled, and the holy water turned a smoky gray, the strand completely gone, having been dissolved. So from that, Spears explains that the hair belongs to a demon, and of course holy water purifies the demon hair. For example, as we saw, it disappeared. And so now they know who to look for. It's someone with long lavender hair. And Spears is like, we're going to have to set up a bait so the demon kind of goes after that person, and then we're able to catch the demon. Ciel, for some reason, thinks to Alois. He's like the only one in the know of Ciel's position as a demon slayer, who knows about this whole war between angels and demons that will happen later on. And so Ciel's freaking out, and he's just all like, no, we can't put Alois as bait. Like, I don't want that to happen. And Spears is like, oh, calm down. Like, that's not the person we're going to use. So Ciel asks, like, oh, who is this guy then? And here's another passage. She, Father Spears corrected, a simple smile emerging across his lips. You haven't met her yet, but you will. She's one of the orphans from Noah's Ark. Smart girl, very sweet. Dagger suggested her. Ciel's mouth pressed into a thin line, the sight making the holy man smirk. You two should get along just fine. Nobody, human or demon, can resist Doll. So I wasn't going to say this because I didn't know how long this review was going to drag on, but I think I'll say it anyway. Does William, Father Spears, I should say, include himself in the human who can't resist Doll? I mean, just saying. This isn't Cielium, unfortunately, but I don't know, that sentence just kind of struck me that way, and I was just like, this is awkward, why am I doing this? So I figured I'd kind of drag you guys along in my agony. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, Spears Doll, that's an interesting crack pairing. I'll have to look up fanfiction on them later, see if it exists. You never know. But anyway, moving on. We then come to another segment in the chapter, and it involves Hannah. And so she's still upset that, again, Sebastian hasn't done anything yet. He's not fulfilling his task. He's spending all this time with Ciel and nothing of the results that they seek for. And so this is a passage from that segment. "Just wait, Sebastian," Hannah vowed to herself. "You think you've dealt out loss, pain, and suffering in your time. You have no clue what that truly is. But you will, once I get through with your precious little phantom hive." She giggled gleefully at the savage thought, eyes glowing in eerie magenta. "Get ready, Michaelis, because here comes your own personal Armageddon." So after reading that portion of Hannah's segment in the chapter, it made me think back to that first set of sentences that I read to you at the beginning of the chapter 22 review, technically. You know, because Ciel's like, oh, like he pictures his birthday just spending the whole day with Sebastian, but something else is going to happen, and we already know that. And my thought is, okay, he might get abducted by Hannah. That is a possibility, especially if Hannah's thinking those thoughts. I mean, what better day to kidnap him, torture him, whatever, than his birthday, which is a tragic day. I am not too sure that she knows about it. Maybe she does, or it's just, oh, hey, like, you know, let's just ruin his birthday, and she doesn't know, like, that it's already ruined, and it's just gonna get worse. So we'll see if she kidnaps him that day. I mean, it kind of sounds that way based on how AnimeCujo phrased the whole, oh, it's not gonna be anything he expects, his 21st birthday. So, I mean, what else would there be? I mean, I guess Claude or another point, but I want to make it afterward. So we'll come back to that. And so the chapter ends with the beginning of Ciel's birthday. It's morning. He goes down the stairs to the kitchen, finds his aunt there, and, you know, she's like, oh, I'm just going to make you some breakfast. And he's like, you don't know how to cook, so don't make me breakfast. So she's like, okay, fine. So she hands him his birthday present. It's in this little box, and Ciel opens it, and it's a ring. It's the blue ring, the iconic ring from the anime. And, you know, she's all explaining that, oh, this used to be your father's, he was going to pass it along to you, and she's basically saying, you know, this is your birthday present. And so Ciel's pretty happy about it. You know, it doesn't fit on his fingers, and then, you know, it was funny because his aunt is just saying, like, oh, yeah, I forgot you have Rachel's hands, you know, like, feminine, delicate fingers, and Ciel's like, there's nothing feminine about these fingers. Like, I'm a demon slayer. Nothing feminine about that. And so then he ends up being able to put it on his thumb, just like in the anime. You know, at seeing this, his aunt, Angelina, says the following. Just wait, Ciel. She cooed, ruby orbs sparkling with mischief, and her nephew narrowed his eyes suddenly at the playful tone. Ciel knew that voice all too well. It meant his aunt was up to something. Your birthday is only beginning, and you still have Father Spears' gift to receive. She giggled at the somewhat alarmed look on his face. Having learned by now that when it came to surprises from the senior clergyman, anything was possible. Huh. A gift from Father Spears. I wonder what that's gonna be. Of course, it's not what I'm thinking, but I can always dream. So that's kind of your Celium segment hidden in there. Haven't had one in a while, so there you go. But anyway, we will then move on to the author's note, and then I'll go back to that whole Ciel's birthday, like what's gonna happen situation. So in the author's note, of course, AnimeCujo mentions, yes, the obligatory ring has shown up again, and, you know, she just likes including bits of the manga and anime into the story, and I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that's what makes all these Kuroshitsuji fanfics awesome, because they incorporate things from the actual original creation. And anyway, continuing on with the author's note, she goes on to explain that there's a third arc coming, so it's becoming a long story, which I love it. I mean, that's great. You know, keep this going as long as you can, because it's awesome, and I like reviewing it. And so at the very end, she says, I'm sure that all of you are dying to see what happens when Ciel finally learns who Sebastian is, and I plan to make that happen in this arc. So again, I mean, we're still in the second arc, there's a third arc coming, but yes, in this arc, I mean, it might happen toward the end of the arc, just so we're in suspense, and then she'll go on, like, a break, and then bring in the third arc. And so then we'll probably go like 2 or 3 weeks or something without knowing Ciel's reaction to Sebastian being all like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm a demon and I'm supposed to kill you. So, I mean, there's that possibility, but then I also thought, what if Ciel finds out about his being a demon the day of his birthday? I mean, that would be shocking in itself. I mean, he gets to see Sebastian, and then, you know, maybe they do share one last lemon, you know, for a while at least. And that's when Sebastian just wants to be honest with Ciel and be like, this is the truth. I want to tell you the truth. I want to be honest with you. So, I mean, there's that possibility. So, you know, like I've mentioned several times before, it's still kind of vague. But I mean, those are my thoughts for what might happen on Ciel's birthday. Whether it's he gets kidnapped by Hannah, he might get kidnapped by Claude, that comes out of nowhere, or he finds out the truth about Sebastian. So, you know, I want to hear from you guys too, what your thoughts are on what will happen the day of his birthday that will be totally unexpected. So, you know, just comment on here or shoot me a private message. You know, I'll provide links to my pages. So I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I will catch you in the Chapter 23 review.